If you ever read The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings, chances are you never heard of the full story behind all of it, the deep mythology that explains how Middle-earth came to be. But that's exactly what the Silmarillion is. It's the book Tolkien spent his entire life building in a background. And today, within the next several minutes, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about it. The story, the history, the characters, and even the unbelievable tale of how this book was finally published after Tolkien's death. Hit like, subscribe, and let's step into the oldest legends of the Middle-earth. One of the most fascinating things about the Silmarillion is that Tolkien worked on it long before The Hobbit or The Lord of the Rings, and long after them too. This mythology was his life's passion. He began writing its earliest version around 1916, during the World War I, scribbling ideas in an army barracks and in the moments of rest between the battles. Over the next 50 years, he rewrote the stories again and again, refining them, expanding them, sometimes throwing out entire sections because they didn't match the vision in his head. He once joked that he had a great mountain of unfinished tales, and he wasn't lying, imagining a lifetime of notes, maps, experiments, drafts, and half-formed myths. By the time Tolkien died in 1973, the Silmarillion still was not finished. There was no complete manuscript, just enormous archives of versions. And that's when his youngest son, Christopher Tolkien, stepped in. Christopher inherited a nearly impossible task. Go through all the papers, figure out which versions were latest, which one contradicted each other, which ones were just rough notes, and somehow piece them together into a single book. He had to decipher Tolkien's tiny handwriting, compare different drafts from different decades, and sometimes stitch together fragments to create a coherent chapters. Christopher Tolkien essentially became a co-author of his father's mythology, the only person who could truly understand the complexity of Tolkien's world. After 4 years of work, the Silmarillion was finally published in 1977. So when you read this book, remember, it's not just Tolkien's work. It's a collaboration between a father building a mythology and a son determined to bring that mythology to the world. Now, what exactly is this book? It's not a novel. It's not written like The Hobbit or The Lord of the Rings. Instead, it's a mythological history, a full Bible of the Middle-earth spanning thousands of years. It covers the creation of the universe, the rise and fall of civilizations, epic wars, doomed love stories, legendary heroes, and the origin of all the familiar races: elves, men, dwarves, and even the great evil forces. If The Lord of the Rings is the final chapter of a very long saga, then the Silmarillion is the first 10,000 pages of it considered into one book. The opening section, Ainulindale, is one of the most beautiful creation myths ever written. The universe began not with a bang but with music. Eru Ilúvatar, the supreme creator, composes a theme. The Ainur, a divine being similar to angels, sing it, and the harmonies literally shape the universe. But one of them, Melkor, introduces discordant notes. His desire to dominate the music becomes the root of evil in the Middle-earth. If Sauron is the villain in The Lord of the Rings, Melkor, later called Morgoth, is essentially the Satan figure in the Tolkien's world. The cosmic music becomes mountains, ocean, forest, and even the spirits of the elves and men. It sets the tone for everything that follows: beauty mixed with tragedy, harmony mixed with corruption. The central story of the Silmarillion takes place during the First Age, long before Frodo was born. And at the heart of his age is Fëanor, the greatest craftsman among the elves. He creates 3 jewels, the Silmarils, which hold the last pure light of the 2 trees, the original source of light before the sun and moon existed. Then Morgoth steals the Silmarils, destroys the trees, and flees to the Middle-earth. This sparks one of the darkest oaths in fantasy literature. Fëanor and his sons swear that no matter the cost, they will reclaim the Silmarils. Their vows lead to betrayal, exile, murder, and centuries of war. This story is tragic, operatic, emotional, Tolkien at his most dramatic. It also explains why the elves in The Lord of the Rings feel tired, sorrowful, and ready to leave the Middle-earth. They begin fighting this battle for ages. Inside the First Age, there are 3 massive standalone stories, each worthy of its own novel. The first one is Beren Lúthien. A mortal man and a mortal elf princess fall in love. To win her hand, Beren must do the impossible: steal the Silmaril from the Morgoth iconic crown. This is Tolkien's most personal story. He even named himself and his wife after these characters. The other one is Children of Húrin, a tragic epic about Túrin Turambar, and flawed hero cursed by Morgoth. It's dark, powerful, heartbreaking, Tolkien's closest work to Greek tragedy. The other story is The Fall of Gondolin. An elven city hidden for centuries is betrayed from within and destroyed by Bolgors, dragons, and monstrous armies. One of the Tolkien's earliest stories and one of the most cinematic. Those tales give emotional weight to the mythology: love, heroism, doom, and hope. Eventually, the elves, men and Valar unite in a colossal final battle. Morgoth is defeated and cast into the void. But his greatest servant Sauron survives. He becomes the central villain in the later ages and events leading to The Lord of the Rings. The book briefly describes the rise of Númenor, the forging of the Rings of Power, and the fall of the Great Kingdoms, and the long decline that leads to the Third Age. The Silmarillion is the secret backbone of the Tolkien's world. It explains where all the races came from, why Middle-earth feels ancient, why the characters carry so much sorrow, why the battle against evil never truly ends, and why the world of The Lord of the Rings feels so deep and real. It is Tolkien building a mythology for the entire world, something almost no author has ever attempted to this scale. And thanks to Christopher Tolkien, we actually got to read it. So, if you love Middle-earth, the books, the movies, the lore, the Silmarillion is an essential. It's challenging, it's dense, and it's absolutely unforgettable. If you enjoyed this deep dive, hit like, subscribe, and let me know which Tolkien book you want me to cover next. Thanks for watching, and may the light of the Silmarils guide your way.